Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this first session of Postgraduate Information Weeks. This will be a full week of sessions all around different aspects of postgraduate study. In this first session, we'll be covering how to apply for postgraduate study, and then also a little bit about postgraduate student finance. So I'm joined by Maria from Student Life and Maggie from Admissions. So I'm just going to hold off just for a minute or so, just to see if we have any more people join, and then we'll get started shortly. Thank you. All right, so I'm now going to pass on to Maggie, who's going to talk us through how to apply for postgraduate study. I'm just going to get your presentation up, Maggie. There you go.
Lovely. Thank you, Solomon. So, as Solomon said, I work in the admissions team here at the University of Suffolk. So I'm just going to talk you through the very basics of how to apply for postgraduate study. Obviously, everybody is different. So I would say from the outset, if you have any specific queries, please don't hesitate to contact a member of the admissions team. We'll be really happy to talk to you about anything specific that might be individual to you. But this is just going to be a quick whistle-stop tour of sending us your application and how to get that application underway. So first things first, how to apply for undergraduate study. It may seem obvious, but the first thing you need to do is decide which course you want to apply for. Here at the University of Suffolk, we offer a wide range of courses based across a lot of campuses, and many of which can be studied full or part-time. The entry requirements for each course are going to be specific to that particular course in most cases. So you'll need to refer to the course page on our website to ensure that you meet those entry requirements. Now, in some cases, the course team may consider an application from you if you have relevant professional experience in lieu of qualifications that are stated on the website, or if an application can demonstrate that you have a particular aptitude for the subject. For example, I know the history course team are happy to accept applications from students who have previously not studied history but have a real interest in that subject. On that point, course teams are always really happy to have an informal conversation with prospective students prior to their application. So if you think that you might want to study a course but would like to know some more details before you submit a formal application, contact details for course teams are generally available on the course page for that specific subject. But where they're not, again, if you would like to just contact the admissions team, we can facilitate that contact for you. So once you've decided which course that you would like to apply for, the next thing is to submit an application. So you can apply directly to the university using the direct application form. Now, so obviously this is different to applying for undergraduate study where you will have applied through UCAS. Links to the direct application form can be found on the postgraduate course page application of our website. Applications usually open 1 year in advance, so for September or January intakes. For postgraduate study, you can apply very close to the start date of the course, but our recommendation would be always to apply as soon as possible to give yourself plenty of time to make any necessary preparations. The application form includes questions about education and employment history, as well as a personal statement and details of referees. So some tips for filling in the form: make sure that you have your qualification certificates and transcripts and upload these to your applications where possible. Where we don't have evidence of your qualifications, your offer to study will include this as a condition of your offer to study. So the more information that you can give us up front, the quicker and easier processing the application will be. Some courses do require a CV, for example, our MBA programme. So please ensure that this provides a comprehensive work history, as the course team use this as one of their tools to help make a decision on your application. In terms of your personal statement, this should outline your motivation to study the course, the reasons that you are applying to the University of Suffolk, and if it's appropriate, how this course will support your future career plans. Really, we're looking to see that you are motivated and have researched the course before making your application. If you're applying to study a postgraduate course soon after graduation, your referee should be from a tutor or course lead at your previous place of study. We can also accept references from employers, line managers, or someone who has known you in an official capacity, such as a leader of a voluntary organisation or a faith leader. You should be aware that applications for professional health courses, so for example, our Masters in Diagnostic Radiography or Adult Nursing pre-registration courses, and also our Cognitive Behavioural Therapy course, these courses require 2 references. Referees should contact admissions directly from a professional email address, so don't include these in your original application. We will either request the referees at a later date, or you can ask that your referees contact us directly once you have submitted your application. We do have a reference form in the admissions team for this if you require it. So again, contact us if you need this. So to make your application, you will need to fill in the direct application form, as I said earlier. Now, just a few hints and tips. The application form is a little bit temperamental, to say the least. So from experience of previous applicants, here are just a few things that you need to be aware of that might help you make an application more smoothly. First of all, please don't try to access the application form from your mobile phone. You should use a PC or a laptop, and we found that using Google Chrome is definitely the optimum method to process the application through. Your application should be completed in one sitting. I think that the form itself does give you the option to leave and come back, but in practice that doesn't work very well and it can be very frustrating. So please make sure that you've given yourself plenty of time to complete the application form so that you can do it in one go at one sitting. If you've applied to the University of Suffolk before, then it will not allow you to use your previous username and password. This seems to confuse the system, unfortunately. So each application is a one-time login. So we would recommend that you make it as unique as possible. And once your application is submitted, you won't need to remember it, as you will be assigned a new University of Suffolk specific username and login. If you find that there are any fields that you feel are not relevant to your application, but they are listed as mandatory to complete. If you just insert a quick N/A, this should allow you to process on to the next page. It's a good idea to have a copy of your personal statement prior to beginning your application so that it doesn't time out. So by that, I mean have it typed out somewhere else so you can just quickly copy and paste it into the application as you work, rather than trying to compose it as you go through the application. Once your application has submitted successfully, you will receive an acknowledgement email. This should arrive within 24 hours. So again, if that doesn't happen, please contact us and we will try and troubleshoot through for you and retrieve your application that way. Your acknowledgement email will include your unique username, and please do make a note of that, because if you can quote that every time you contact us, it helps us to locate your application form more quickly and we can deal with your inquiry more quickly. So what happens once we have received your application? Depending on your chosen course of study, it might be that we require additional information from you at this stage, or possibly we will invite you to interview with the course team. Not all courses at postgraduate level require an interview, but some do. So it will depend which course that you have chosen to study. In certain circumstances, we may refer your application to the course team for an academic review before we can process a decision. The admissions team don't make academic decisions. We work on criteria that have been given to us by the course teams previously. So if anything falls out with those criteria, we will always refer your application to the academic team for review. If your chosen course requires an interview, you will be sent an interview invitation, which outlines all of the details and will also recommend any appropriate preparation that you should do at that stage. We aim to process applications in a timely manner, but please bear in mind that each application is individual and will be managed accordingly. So it might be, as I say, that we need to come back to you and request some more information, or the course team may have some questions. If we do require any additional information, please respond as quickly as possible, because this will help avoid any delays in processing your decision. Once your decision has been received, you will be sent an email that you provided us, and that will be sent to the email that you provided on your application. So again, just a tip, because it has happened previously, don't change your email address from the one that you submitted on your application, or you might miss receiving your offer. And that is a quick whistle-stop tour of how to apply for postgraduate study. I hope that's been helpful.
Thank you, Maggie. All right, so I'll now pass over to Maria, and then we'll come to questions just at the end of the stream. Yeah, Maria?
Hi, everyone. Hello, everyone. So my name is Maria Senior, and I'm a student finance advisor, and I work in the student life team at the University of Suffolk. So my team is myself and one other, and we are essentially the money advice team for the university. So this presentation will just run through what funding there is available once you're applied and you're ready to go on your course. I'll just go to the next slide. Okay, so with Student Finance England, they have the main sort of body, the main sort of eligibility, the main sort of funding bodies that they have for postgraduate is as postgraduate master's loan, and they also have a separate pot for postgraduate doctoral loans. So those two are the sort of the main, essentially the main funding that is available to postgraduate students. If there are some people who are listening in today or watching today who are like looking at teacher training, or they're international students, that's something that that with teacher training you'd be able to have a look on student finance, because there are lots of different routes into teacher training that you can go for. So this presentation is not going to cover that, unfortunately, but there are lots of information online, so like Get Into Teaching or student finance, and the teacher training providers at different universities will advertise what routes that they have. So just to sort of bear that in mind. So we're not going to be sort of discussing teacher training. If we have an international people streaming in today, obviously that's not anything funding wise that we can advise on, but obviously, as Maggie's explained, application process will go through the direct application for the course. Okay, so that's sort of the majority of students, postgraduate master's loan, or if you're doing a PhD, you'll have the postgraduate doctoral loan. Okay, so student finance have just announced the funding option for 25-26. So basically, with student finance, you get instead of getting it in instalments. If you've done an undergraduate course before, you note that you don't see the tuition fee loan. You receive just the maintenance loan to live on, and you get that in 3 instalments. With postgraduate master's loan, as most courses are offered full time, the funding that you get in a lump. You basically get that figure of 12,858, or if you're doing a doctoral loan, you get the 30,301. So if you're doing a 1-year postgraduate course, you get that figure over 3 instalments. So then you pay your tuition fee to the university out of that. So it's not that, like undergraduate funding, you would have not seen that tuition fee loan. With postgraduate, slightly different. And again, with the doctoral loan, you still get that in instalments, and obviously you're paying then the tuition fee out of that. Obviously, PhD is slightly longer. Obviously, that's the amount is higher, and again, it depends on whether you're full-time or part-time. So if you're doing a postgraduate master's loan and it's over, you can only do it basically over 2 years part-time. Anything more than that, then you won't be able to sort of it go any further. So basically, if you're doing it part-time, you'll still get that figure, but obviously it will go over the 2 years, if that makes sense. Okay, so just to remember that you get the money and then you pay the tuition fee to the university. So as with what happens is when you do your online enrollment, it will ask you how you pay your fees, and at that point you can set up a direct debit, or you can ask for a payment plan that's specific to you. So it's fairly flexible. However, finance have to approve any payment plan. Usually, if you're doing it direct debit, they can do that over 9 months. So as courses, if they start in October, then you have that 9 months to pay. If you do a payment plan and want something different to that, finance will be able to let you know if they can support that. Some people prefer to do it as they get the student finance in instalments. It's usually over the 3 instalments. They then prefer to pay, as soon as they have the money from student finance, like to pay the university tuition fee, so they're not, you're not having to sort of worry too much. So it's dependent on the individual. So hopefully that you can do that as you wish. Okay, so just to remind you, so postgraduate master's loan, 12,858 for the academic year 25-26, and the doctoral loan is 30,301 for the academic year 25-26. We'll just go on to the next slide. So eligibility, as obviously it depends on course, your age, nationality, residency. So it's just, they are with postgraduate, they're age is 60, I believe. So again, it's just checking directly with Student Finance that you meet the eligibility. If you've already getting, so obviously it's a different pot of funding from your undergraduate, so that's okay if you've got undergraduate funding, so you'll still be able to apply for the postgraduate loan. But if you've already done some postgraduate study, or you've got student finance for another postgraduate course that you're studying, then you wouldn't be eligible. So you just need to. So we always say, just check your eligibility with student finance, just to ensure that all is well. So some people, if they've started a course, whether it's a postgraduate or a doctoral, that will be taken in consideration, and just to bear in mind that you may not be eligible. So obviously we can't tell you whether you're eligible. It's something that you would have to check with student finance on that. Okay, so it's not something that if you contacted us, we're not the ones that sort of set that eligibility. You would need to speak to them. So if anyone's not sure and they've got study at postgraduate level or above, or the equivalent, then definitely check with student finance before applying, and I'll let you know when the application's open. So there are some exceptions to postgraduate funding. So at the beginning, I said there'd be the master's loan, postgraduate master's loan, and the doctoral loan. Then there are some exceptions at the University of Suffolk where yes, you'll be doing a postgraduate course, but in fact you'd have to apply for the undergraduate funding. So the courses that the University of Suffolk have that would come into this category are the pre-registration masters. So the pre-registration masters in diagnostic radiography and the pre-registration masters in adult nursing. So basically, if you're applying for those courses, you would have to apply for Student Finance England funding through the undergraduate funding route. Now, this can be confusing because obviously you're thinking, well, actually I'm doing a postgraduate course, but why am I going to the undergraduate route? So it is beneficial to you. So as you can see, I've put the tuition fee amount because it's a year-long course. So both those courses are £10,215 for the year. Now, when you look at the undergraduate funding, the maximum tuition amount that they can loan you would be £9,535 per year, and that's for the new academic year 25-26. So there is a shortfall. However, so you might think, well, actually I'm being disadvantaged here. However, with the undergraduate funding, you are able to then apply for not just the maintenance loan, but any grants, things like childcare, parental support, if you're responsible for an adult. So there's lots more available to you as through that system. Also, you'll be able to apply for the NHS Learning Support Fund. So that's where the NHS gives you a training grant of £5,000. If you're a parent, you can get another £2,000. And also within that, you can, if you're out on placement and you need to travel and accommodation expenses refunded, that's where you then get that money back to you. There's also in the NHS Learning Support Fund, there's an exceptional support fund. So basically that's the NHS's like a hardship fund. So if you are having any difficulties and you'd exceeded the support at the university and needed some extra support, then that's something that you can apply for. So as you can see, and in order to be eligible for the NHS Learning Support Fund, you have to have Student Finance England via the undergraduate route. So this is why you have to do this way. So there's just those two exceptions for that postgraduate, those two postgraduate pre-reg health courses that you can do. So with that, just to go over that tuition fee, because of the difference, what the university would do, because the tuition fee would come directly to the university for the undergraduate route, what the university's finance team would do is contact you and just ask how you'd like to pay the difference. And because obviously you'd have the maintenance loan and the NHS Learning Support Fund, that's something that you'd be able to use to help just to to pay the difference. Okay, so that's just those. So it's just important to note, if you are applying for the pre-registration healthcare masters in diagnostic radiography or adult nursing, you must apply for the undergraduate route, and you'd also be able to apply for the NHS Learning Support Fund. So making your applications. So for the postgraduate master's loan and the doctoral loan, applications will open in around May of this year. Student Finance don't unfortunately advertise a specific date. It will suddenly become live. So my advice to you is to follow Student Finance England on social media, and you can sign up to their like a list, so when it becomes available, you'd be able to get, you'd get notification, and you can then make your application straight away. So my advice is to, as soon as applications go live for postgraduate funding, you need to be sort of getting your application in. Usually takes sort of 6 to 8 weeks to process. So once you've applied, as Maggie said, for your course at the University of Suffolk, you don't need to wait to hear whether you've been made an offer. You can start the application process for your finance at the same time. It's not a problem. You don't need to wait. And then at least you know that that's in. So if there are any changes later on, or you don't get made an offer, or you change your course, things like that can be amended later on. So it's just best to get your application in as soon as Student Finance open for that. So what they do, the undergraduate route is opened. They normally open up March, so around Easter time. So they like to get those applications through first, and then they open up to postgraduate from May. So if you are so remember those two courses, the pre-registration master's diagnostic radiography and the adult nursing. So if you are applying for those courses, you can make your applications in March. Okay. So repayment. So this is just for the master's and the doctoral loan. So interest is charged the day from when you receive your first instalment from them, and then the interest and repayment, it works the same. So you're charged from the day you receive your first instalment, and you're charged the retail index price plus 0%. So that's new for 25-26. So just have a look at Student Finance's website to see what the RPI rate is at the time. So you start repaying, as undergraduate, you start repaying the April after you leave the university or you finish your course. So it's always the April afterwards. So most courses, if they finish in the summer, you have graduation in October, and then you'll be able to, then Student Finance will contact you. However, you need to be earning threshold, as you can see, you have to be earning the threshold of £25,000 or above before you start making repayment, and that is the same for undergraduate as well. And then you repay 9% of your earnings over that threshold. So that's how that works. It is very similar to the undergraduate route. Okay. So there are additional support, financial support at the University of Suffolk. So I'll just go through that, what that looks like. So this is specific to us at the University of Suffolk. Some universities will have different arrangements, but for the University of Suffolk, we have a financial support fund, which is a hardship fund that undergraduate or postgraduate students can apply for. And basically, if we can assess that you are experiencing financial hardship, then we'd be able to help with some funds for you. So we ask obviously to see what funding you get, so obviously to make sure that you're getting all of the funding that you're eligible for, and we ask to see obviously your bank statements, and just to see that that you are in hardship, and then we can have a look at that. Postgraduate applications to the hardship fund are assessed slightly differently to the undergraduate students, but if we can see that there's a hardship, we will be able to support with that. We can't help with any previous debt or anything that you had prior to being a student, but if things like, your car car might break down, you can't get to uni, or you're struggling with the travel or travel costs, or anything that you're basically facing hardship. And obviously we know with cost of living, it does put a massive strain on students. So that's where we are able to support. So please just remember that we do have that available to you once you are a student. Also, students, if they apply to Student Finance England for the disabled student allowance, and you are assessed to get equipment, we can give you a reimbursement of £200 for that while that's being set up. Okay. We also have the Alumni Postgraduate Loyalty Scheme. So if you've been a student with the University of Suffolk before as undergrad, then we'll be able to give you a 25% reduction on your course fees. So again, this information is on our website. You don't need to make an application for that. Our admissions team are now assessing those for that discount as applications come in. So it's not something you need to sort of worry too much and think, oh God, if I got that, that's admissions will assess that and they will update our finance team accordingly. Don't need to sort of worry. And as I said, with the disabled students allowance, it's not money that from Student Finance that's paid directly to you. Basically, they have a pot of money that if you are eligible for that, it can go towards any equipment, any support at the university, like study skills, or if you need someone to scribe for you, to attend lectures with you, that kind of thing. That money goes into that support. So it's not something that you see. But if you are thinking that you'd be eligible for that, so when you make your Student Finance England application for the funding, you do the disabled students allowance at the same time as making that application. Okay. So any questions? I'll have a look back in the chat in a moment. But yeah, if anyone wants to contact us, they can email moneyadvice@uos.ac.uk. And all of what I've spoken about is also on our website as well. So if you have a look at that link on there, so it's www.uos.ac.uk, and then it's /life@Suffolk/funding your studies, and then /postgraduate study. And then that'll have everything that I've spoken about today. So I'll just, so there's lots of questions. So I don't know, Solomon, if you want to sort of see if there's anything you want to have a look at first, and Maggie and I will obviously respond after.
All right. Thanks, Maria. We have had quite a few questions. So thank you all for typing your questions in the chat. So I'll just highlight each one individually, and then if either of you want to answer each one. So we've got a question here. Can everyone see this?
Yep.
Yep. So we've got.
Okay.
Yeah. So I've secured a postgrad starting in September. It is the MA Creative Writing course. I tried to apply with the government for a student loan. The 25 to 26 application did not seem to be available. I think you covered this already in your presentation, didn't you, Maria? But
Yeah, so just to let you know that, for that course, it will be the postgraduate loan, and that will be applications with Student Finance England open from May. So definitely follow them on social media, because you'll be able to see when that precise date is. They don't like to give a date until it goes live suddenly. So, but from past experience, it's usually May. Okay. Thank you.
Is that also the case for this question as well? It's about student loan. Do you know my course code for creative writing MA? I did have a look on the UCAS website, and I also can't seem to find a course code for this. So it might be a case that it's not released yet. Is that?
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, so they don't. Again, it won't be on anything yet. Maggie, I don't know if there are course codes for postgraduate courses as there are for undergrad. I'm not sure for that.
I don't know if there will be,
No,
actually. No.
It basically, when applications go live for postgraduate funding, you'll be able to select the University of Suffolk and then that course. You don't need to have a code as such, if that makes sense. But each year we have to set up all of our postgraduate courses with Student Finance. So sometimes even when applications go live for postgraduate applications, our finance team have to set up each course every year, and so sometimes it might be that there's a delay until all the courses are set up, but certainly May onwards you'll be able to do that. Okay.
Great, thank you. This next one is from Carl. It's been a while since I've studied and I'm concerned about getting a reference owing to the length of time. What would you suggest? That's probably best for you, Maggie.
Yeah, so it will depend what course it is that you're hoping to study. If you are looking to study either one of the professional health courses, so adult nursing or diagnostic radiography pre-registration, or our cognitive and behavioural therapy course, we are a little bit more strict on our referencing for those courses because obviously you're going to be working with members of the public. But we can generally find a way around it somehow. Some courses may waive the requirement for a reference altogether, but as I said when I was speaking earlier, it doesn't need to be an educational reference. It could be from an employer or from somebody else who knows you in a professional capacity. So if you do some voluntary work, the leader of that charity or organisation, or a leader of a faith group, so a local vicar or an imam. If you have any specific questions that relate to yourself, obviously contact us in the admissions team and we can give you some more personalised advice. But there are generally always options other than a course team leader if you've been out of education for a while.
Right. Thanks, Maggie. We've also got another question from Carl. I don't think he quite finished typing the question for this one. So Carl, if you could like maybe type this question again, if that's all right, and then we'll come to it later if you're still watching the stream. So I'll go on to the next question, which is Stephen Bartlett again. He says, I am 69 at time of course start. Am I too old for a postgraduate loan?
Yes, as I said in the presentation, it's 60 is the limit for that, unfortunately. Let me just see if there's anything else while we're on, just to see if there's anything else that you could do. Just bear with me one moment.
I've seen now that Carl has typed in his full question, so I'll bring that up next.
Yeah, so I've just having a look for master's loan eligibility. Just bear me a sec, sorry. Yeah, it must be under 60 on the first day of the first academic year of your course. So I would say have a look at, trying to think of the website. There's a website called Prospects, which is a really good website for postgraduate funding, where in your case where you might not be eligible for Student Finance England, but there might be other schemes that you can apply for. So Prospects, if you Google Prospects postgraduate funding, that's a really good, useful website to take a look at.
There's also websites like I think there's a website called Find a PhD, which is obviously it's not just PhDs on there, it's also MAs, but that's for if you want to find, like, you can find specific scholarships or funding. So if you did have a specific kind of research thing you wanted to do, there may be other funding available, but that might be quite specific. But it's definitely worth having a look.
Yeah, having a look at both those. Yeah, that looks because there's some very variable sort of things on there. So yeah.
So then we have this question here. So once enrolled, would the payment be due immediately, or could I wait until I had received my student finance loan to pay the fees in full? Is this something the finance team could consider?
Yes, so with, as I said in the presentation, once you've enrolled, you would then say how you'd like to pay. So if you're going to be doing, you want to pay direct debit, or you'd like to pay as a payment plan, because they'll be able to, the system will allow you to then get a form for that. So if you want to pay, you don't need to obviously pay in full, but if that's something you want to do, you'll just get an invoice and that will say the amount, or you can do what most students do is so once you've got your student finance, you'll be able to pay it in the 3 instalments. So if you're full time for the year. So our finance department don't sort of send out invoices immediately. Obviously they've got, we're going to wait for everyone to enroll, get started. So at the sort of by the end of October, if you're autumn starter, usually when you're then going to be receiving something from them. So as again, it's very, it depends on you as an individual what you want to do. So yeah, direct debit over 9 months or a payment plan, and the payment plan could be as when you get your student finance. So yeah, so it's in sort of tailored individually for you.
Great, thank you. I've just got one more question from Instagram. I'm just going to paste that into here. There we go. I think this might be one for you, Maggie. Here we go. So yeah, this is from Instagram. So I got an admission last year, which I couldn't take due to a reason. I had my English test approved last year. When applying this year, will I still need to write an English test? Presumably this will be for the ELT.
Yeah, so I think your English test will be more relevant to whether it will still be valid for your visa application rather than for your course itself. Again, it will depend if you're applying for one of the health courses, we might need to look at that more closely. But generally speaking, if you've taken your IELTS or other secure English language test within 2 years, then that will still be valid. But again, that seems like a more specific question, so it might be worth contacting the admissions team directly and we can just double check that for you now.
We've just got one more, also from the same person. So secondly, I'm studying a 2-year course. Can I pay the whole 2 years fee at once, or do I have to wait till the beginning of the session?
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, you can do what you would like. We would say, but you'd only be invoiced per year, so you don't need to pay the whole 2 years up front. It's done on each academic year. So as a part-time, you can pay the first, the first year in full if you wish, or you can do the payment plan as I've described. But yeah, you won't. Our finance department will not be able to invoice you for the 2 years at once. It's not something that they would be. It's done on an academic year basis only. So yeah, if you wanted to pay for the 1 year in full, absolutely you can do that, or do a payment plan. But yeah, you won't be allowed to pay the 2 years at once.
Okay. Great, thank you. So I think that is all the questions. I'll just have another quick scroll through Instagram to check I've not missed anything. I think we're all good. But if there is anyone watching who is an international student, we have a separate session this Wednesday at 2 p.m, which is about how to apply and the student finance system for if you're an international student, because obviously the process is very different. So yeah, feel free to attend those sessions on Wednesday. So yeah, I don't think there's any more questions. So thank you, Maria, and thank you, Maggie. I'm sure that this the session's been really informative, and it's great that we've had lots of questions from people as well. So goodbye, everyone. I hope you have a good rest of your day, and I'll see you at the next session, which is at 4 o'clock today, where Anna Flatt from the careers team will be talking about postgraduate career prospects. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you.